200 feet beneath the violent, churning surface of the Pacific Ocean, a brutal war against nature has already begun. There is no land here, no bedrock to easily pour concrete, no solid ground to stand on. Yet, directly in the path of the world's most devastating typhoons and tectonic fault lines, a coalition of elite Japanese engineers is constructing the impossible. They are not building an oil rig, and they are not building a bridge. They are building an entire, fully functioning, hyper-advanced metropolis that will float permanently in the open ocean. Welcome to the construction zone of Dogen City. Spearheaded by the Japanese marine engineering consortium NARC, this is a mind-bending, $16 billion mega-project designed to save humanity from its most terrifying future: the relentless, unstoppable rise of global sea levels. As coastlines around the world face the threat of being completely swallowed by the ocean in the coming decades, Japan is refusing to retreat inland. Instead, they are spending billions to conquer the water itself. But building a 4-kilometer-wide floating city requires marine engineering on a scale that has never been attempted in human history. Construction does not start with delicate architecture. It starts with brute force deep-sea industrial warfare.
The deflection readings confirm the 8-degree bend here.
And the buckling is significant. I'm getting macro shots of the raw steel.
To prevent this massive floating metropolis from simply washing away in a Pacific superstorm, it must be permanently tethered to the bottom of the ocean.
We have convergence, plus or minus 5 centimeters. Set the lock.
Giant, heavily armored dredging vessels are currently deployed in the deep, freezing waters, using colossal mechanical cutter heads to violently slash through the ancient, compressed limestone of the seabed. They are carving out massive trenches in the pitch-black abyss to house the city's primary anchor points. On the surface, battling heavy winds and crashing waves, colossal heavy-lift crane ships maneuver into position. These floating behemoths slowly lower massive, hollow reinforced concrete caissons, each weighing upwards of 10,000 tons, straight into the dark water. As these colossal concrete blocks hit the seabed with a terrifying muffled thud, the real danger begins. Human divers cannot survive the crushing pressure and freezing temperatures for long, so the engineers deploy a fleet of advanced ROVs, remotely operated vehicles.
Copy that, moving east.
We are at 6,000 psi. System is armed. Confirmed. Ready for fire command. Segment 2. Confirm green across all markers. Solid green. Tolerances confirmed. Locking sequence initiated.
These heavy-duty submersibles, equipped with high-pressure robotic welding arms, navigate the murky, silt-filled water. They unleash blinding showers of orange sparks that violently boil the surrounding saltwater, permanently fusing massive steel mooring pins directly into the oceanic bedrock.
The magnetic particle test looks good here.
Confirmed. No flaws detected.
It is a terrifying, blind construction process where one miscalculated weld could doom the entire city above. With the deep-sea anchors permanently fused to the Earth's crust, the project moves to its most critical and visually staggering phase, the outer ring. To survive in the open ocean, Dogen City cannot simply be a collection of floating rafts. It must be protected by an impenetrable shield. The engineers are constructing a colossal 4-kilometer circumference outer hull. This is not a wall. It is a highly advanced hydrodynamic breakwater ring, engineered specifically to absorb and shatter the catastrophic kinetic energy of 30-meter tsunamis and Category 5 typhoons. Building this massive ring in the middle of a moving ocean is an absolute logistical nightmare. The engineers cannot pour concrete in the open water, so the entire outer ring is being built in modular pieces at massive dry docks hundreds of miles away on the Japanese mainland. These prefabricated segments, each composed of high-strength marine-grade steel and specialized salt-resistant concrete, are so massive that they require fleets of specialized heavy transport barges to tow them out into the open ocean.
All right, this bolt is tight. Clear on the left.
Gauge 542 is bonded. Check the signal strength.
Signal is strong. Proceeding with the protective cover.
Structural integrity is well within acceptable ranges.
Confirmed. Strain and pressure levels are nominal.
When a hull segment arrives at the drop zone, the coordination must be flawless. The massive maritime cranes must lift and lower these thousands of tons of steel while the ocean itself is constantly moving underneath them. Using highly advanced, computerized GPS positioning systems that adjust the crane's hydraulics thousands of times a second to counteract the pitch and roll of the ocean waves, the heavy blocks are carefully lowered into the water. But how do you connect floating blocks of concrete in a violently moving sea? The engineers utilize terrifyingly massive hydraulic locking pins. As two hull sections are brought together, colossal steel pistons, driven by thousands of pounds of hydraulic pressure, shoot outward, piercing the adjacent block and locking them together with a bone-rattling slam. Once locked, crews of fearless marine welders, hanging from safety harnesses hundreds of feet above the crashing waves, seal the joints with high-temperature industrial torches. Slowly, section by section, this massive ring is enclosed. And as the final block is locked into place, an engineering miracle occurs. While the exterior of the ring is violently battered by the relentless Pacific swells, the interior of the 4-kilometer ring becomes completely isolated. The massive hull absorbs the ocean's energy, creating a perfectly calm, still, and controlled artificial lagoon in the center. The fortress is complete. Now they must build the city inside it.
bring it left, easy now. We're clear on this side, keep the tension.
While the massive outer ring protects the city from the wrath of the weather, the true technological heart of Dogen City is being deliberately hidden away from the sun. The engineers are carving out a high-tech, multi-billion-dollar underworld directly beneath the water's surface. In the modern era, a city cannot survive without massive computational power. But standard data centers on land generate catastrophic amounts of heat, requiring millions of gallons of fresh water and massive amounts of electricity just to run the air conditioning. The engineers of Dogen City realized they were floating on top of the ultimate infinite cooling mechanism, the Pacific Ocean. Deep beneath the floating residential zones, anchored securely to the interior walls of the massive ring, workers are constructing colossal undersea data centers and power management grids. These submerged server farms are housed in massive, pressure-resistant, watertight steel cylinders. To cool the massive network servers, workers are routing giant industrial titanium intake pipes deep into the ocean below. These pipes suck in millions of gallons of freezing deep-sea water, circulating it through a massive network of heat exchangers inside the submerged data centers. The heat generated by the city's supercomputers is instantly neutralized by the ocean's natural freezing temperatures, creating a highly sustainable, zero-emission cooling infrastructure. But holding these massive, heavy submerged structures in place requires incredible engineering. The underworld is secured using high-tension marine cables, massive bundles of braided steel wire, coated in thick polyurethane to prevent saltwater corrosion. These cables are constantly groaning and vibrating under the immense pressure, tethering the underwater data hubs to both the floating surface ring and the seabed anchors below. It is a dark, echoing industrial labyrinth where the most advanced digital technology on Earth is completely encased in raw, heavy marine infrastructure, hidden completely from the citizens who will soon live just a few feet above it. With the deep-sea anchors set, the outer breakwater fortress locked, and the submerged data centers humming with power, it is time to build the actual city. Unlike traditional cities where skyscrapers are built from the ground up using massive steel frames, Dogen City is entirely modular. It is essentially a $16 billion high-tech puzzle. Inside the massive, perfectly calm lagoon created by the outer ring, the city is assembled block by block. Massive fleet tugboats, their diesel engines roaring and churning the water, tow highly advanced, prefabricated floating neighborhoods directly through the massive entry gates of the outer ring. These modular blocks are engineering marvels in themselves. Their foundations are built using a specialized, ultra-lightweight cellular concrete matrix, a honeycomb structure filled with high-density buoyancy foam that makes it physically impossible for the buildings to sink, even if the hull is breached. Once a massive residential complex, vertical farm, or medical research facility is towed into the lagoon, high-tech gantry cranes take over. Floating on massive barges, these cranes precisely maneuver the floating blocks into their designated grid positions. Workers rapidly deploy massive steel locking arms, physically snapping the floating neighborhoods together. Because the city is floating on moving water, traditional rigid plumbing and electrical wiring would instantly snap. Instead, teams of specialized marine technicians connect the modular blocks using massive, heavily armored umbilical cords. These flexible, waterproof industrial hoses contain the city's power grid, fresh water supply, and fiber optic data lines. As the floating buildings gently rise and fall with the slight variations in the lagoon's water level, these massive umbilicals flex and bend, ensuring the power never cuts out. Simultaneously, above the water, workers are wrapping the modular buildings in highly advanced solar composite skins. Every square inch of the city's surface is engineered to absorb sunlight, generating immense amounts of renewable energy to power the floating metropolis. Below the surface, automated marine drones equipped with high-powered ultrasonic blasters constantly patrol the undersides of the floating blocks. They blast away barnacles, algae, and marine growth, a process called anti-biofouling, ensuring the massive floating hulls remain pristine and perfectly buoyant. After years of battling freezing deep-sea pressures, violent Pacific typhoons, and the absolute limits of marine engineering, the $16 billion Dogen City is fully operational. It stands not just as a marvel of construction, but as a bold, defiant statement against the changing climate of our planet. It is a fully independent, sustainable ocean ecosystem. It generates its own solar power, cools its own data centers using the deep ocean, grows its own food in floating vertical farms, and houses up to 40,000 people in absolute safety, completely immune to the rising tides that threaten the world's coastlines. The engineers have achieved the impossible. They have taken the most hostile, unpredictable environment on Earth, the open ocean, and transformed it into a fortress of human survival. Dogen City proves that when humanity is pushed to the absolute brink by the forces of nature, we do not retreat. We adapt, we engineer, and we build right on top of the water. If you are absolutely obsessed with the incredible machines, raw grit, and insane megaprojects that are physically reshaping the future of our world, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and tell us in the comments below. Would you pack your bags and move to a floating city in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? See you in the next megaproject breakdown.